Anything you're seeing on the tape that would lead you to believe that there's a slippage in Wyatt Teller's play?
No, the answer is no. He's by far the best offensive lineman. He's had his issues. Kevin said one thing and he said the other. And when you don't have alignment, it's a mess.
The Browns benched him out of nowhere. He responded to the benching with his best play of the year, and he's now ruled out for the next week's game a week in advance. Kevin Stefanski is losing the locker room. Now, I've been telling you that for a long time.
Kevin Stefanski just got caught doing something that has the entire Browns locker room questioning his leadership. He benched Wyatt Teller, the one veteran who's been defending Shedeur Sanders since day one. And here's where it gets absolutely wild. Teller responded to this disrespectful benching by putting up his highest grade of the entire season, literally proving Stefanski wrong on the field. But then Stefanski did something even more suspicious. He ruled Teller out for next week's game with a calf injury that Teller himself said he didn't have. When your best offensive lineman on a 30th ranked O-line is questioning why he's getting rotated, when Browns insiders are calling out the lack of alignment between what the coach says and what the player says, and when the same guy who lifted Shedeur's number in celebration is suddenly getting the cold shoulder treatment, man, something ain't adding up here.
Probably along the lines of not playing well enough. I mean, I feel like that's obvious, but yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff that, as a personal player, I need to improve on. So,
you know what I'm saying? You have one of your best offensive linemen, not named Joe Bitonio, on the Browns offense, questioning if he's playing well enough for Kevin Stefanski because of the way that he's managing this roster. And I want to stress this.
Look, let me break down what's really going on in Cleveland right now, because this story goes way deeper than just another coaching decision. This is about a head coach who's completely losing control of his locker room, making moves that don't make any sense when you actually look at the facts in the film. And the craziest part? The people calling this out aren't just Shedeur fans or random social media accounts. These are actual Browns reporters who cover this team every single day, finally starting to question what the hell Kevin Stefanski is doing. So let's set the scene first. The Browns just got destroyed by the 49ers, right? It was a rough day all around. You had injuries everywhere. The center, Ethan Pochich, went out and came back in. Guards were rotating like a revolving door. KT Leviston went down. And the defense was even worse, with Isaiah McGuire hurt and Malik Collins potentially done for the season with a knee injury. It was absolute chaos on that field. And in the middle of all this dysfunction, you know who was actually playing well? Wyatt Teller. The same guy Stefanski decided to bench and rotate out of nowhere. Here's where it gets interesting. Daniel Fussy, who covers the Browns closely, pointed out that the team registered a season-high 94.7% pass block win rate against the 49ers. Their run block win rate was 72.9%, which was their fourth best mark of the entire season. So, the offensive line actually had one of their better performances of the year in those terrible weather conditions. And you know who was a huge part of that success? Wyatt freaking Teller, who graded out with an 83.9, not just the highest grade of any Browns offensive lineman that game, but the highest grade of any Browns player, period. Read that again. The guy Stefanski benched was literally their best performer on the entire offense. But here's what Kevin Stefanski said after the game when asked about the rotation. He claimed it was because he thought rotating Teller with Kevin Jenkins would help Wyatt play better, and that both guys played really well yesterday. Okay, cool story, Kevin. But then Wyatt Teller gets asked about why he was rotated, and listen to what he said. Probably along the lines of not playing well enough. I mean, I feel like that's obvious, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that as a personal player I need to improve on. You hear that? Teller thinks he got benched because he wasn't playing well enough. He's questioning his own performance because of how his coach treated him. This is a guy who's been a rock for this organization, who wants to stay in Cleveland for the rest of his career, who's been one of the few bright spots on a terrible offensive line. And now he's sitting there wondering if he's good enough because Kevin Stefanski is playing mind games with the rotation.
He's by far the best offensive lineman. He's had his issues. A lot of his issues have to do with they're in 3rd and 10, and he's not the best lateral mover. But in terms of run game, in terms of displacing people, he's doing everything he's always done, especially when they run what he does best, which is down blocking, gap schemes. He's fantastic. So I don't understand that. The one thing that's bothersome to me is
Let me play
what you said about, like, Kevin said one thing and he said the other. When you don't have alignment, it's a mess. I don't care if it's high school, college, or pro. When you're not aligned from top to bottom and you're struggling like they are.
You know the answer is no. He's by far the best offensive lineman. He's had his issues. A lot of his issues have to do with they're in 3rd and 10, and he's not the best lateral mover. But in terms of run game, in terms of displacement people, he's doing everything he's always done, especially when they run what he does best, which is down-blocking gap schemes. He's fantastic. But then the analyst said something that should have every Browns fan worried. The one thing that's bothersome to me is what you said about Kevin said one thing and he said the other. When you don't have alignment, it's a mess. I don't care if it's high school, college, or pro. When you're not aligned from top to bottom and you're struggling like they are, it gets exposed. And winning hides a lot, and when you lose, it shows true dysfunction. And that's a problem for me, just because that tells you they're not aligned. Not aligned. Let that sink in. When your coach is saying one thing publicly and your player is saying something completely different, that's how you lose a locker room. That's how you create chaos and dysfunction. And that's exactly what's happening in Cleveland right now. Nick Wilson and Jay Pierre broke this down even further, and what they said is absolutely brutal. They pointed out that Stefanski is watching Cam Robinson get driven 7 yards back on every other play, watching Jack Conklin struggle all year, watching the offensive line fall apart at the seams, and yet Wyatt Teller, the guy making his 100th start as a Cleveland Brown, the guy who's graded out as the best offensive lineman all year long, is the one getting benched and rotated? They said, I don't understand how Wyatt's the only guy in the NFL we can hold accountable for some mythical bad play when he grades out as your best offensive lineman all year long. And here's the kicker. In that same 49ers game where Teller got the rotation treatment, he's still graded out as the top offensive player on the entire team. Not just the top lineman, the top offensive player. So if you're trying to send a message by benching somebody for poor performance, maybe start with the guys who are actually playing poorly instead of your best player. And you know what happened after Shedeur got his first win against the Raiders? Wyatt Teller celebrated by throwing up the number 12 on the field. His wife Carly posted about it on social media, showing love to the rookie quarterback. There are pictures from the preseason of Teller's kid hanging out with Shedeur, building that relationship early. This is a veteran offensive lineman who's been in Shedeur's corner from day one, telling the organization to give the kid a real chance instead of burying him on the depth chart behind Dylan Gabriel. And now, all of a sudden, after Teller's been supporting Shedeur publicly, after he's been questioning the coaching decisions, after he's been one of the few veterans willing to speak truth to power, he gets benched on his 100th career start and then mysteriously ruled out for the next game? Come on, man. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see what's happening here. Let me be clear about something. I'm wearing a Texans jersey right now. I'm a Texans fan, but I'm also a football fan who cares about the game being played the right way. And what Kevin Stefanski is doing is not the right way. This isn't just about Shedeur Sanders, even though that's part of it. This is about how he handled Dylan Gabriel before Shedeur. This is about how he mismanaged Joe Flacco last year. This is about signing 2 veteran quarterbacks and then drafting 2 more, creating complete chaos at the position. This is about not having a plan and not having alignment between the coaching staff and the front office. When veteran players like Wyatt Teller start questioning if they're playing well enough, despite clearly being one of the few bright spots on your team, that's a red flag. When analysts and reporters who normally give coaches the benefit of the doubt start openly calling out the lack of alignment, that's a red flag. When you have one of the worst offensive lines in football and you're benching your best lineman while guys like Cam Robinson are getting destroyed every play, that's a red flag. At a certain point, you have to stop making excuses and start holding the head coach accountable. And let's talk about the timing of all this, because it matters. Shedeur Sanders is making just his 2nd start as a pro, trying to develop chemistry with his offensive line, trying to get comfortable in this offense. And what does Kevin Stefanski do? He starts rotating guards, dealing with multiple injuries, creating more instability for the rookie quarterback. You had both offensive tackles hurt when Shedeur first came in against Baltimore. Mary Kay Cabot, who's basically the Browns' official propaganda machine, tried to spin this on the Ultimate Cleveland podcast. She claimed that Stefanski has been watching tape of Wyatt Teller and felt he needed to take a little bit of a step back and alternate a little bit and see if he couldn't maybe improve his play. She said Teller is grading out as the 67th best guard in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus, and that they wanted to upgrade that position a little bit. But here's what Mary Kay didn't mention. Context is everything. Yeah, Teller might not have elite PFF grades when you look at the raw numbers, but that's because he's playing on the 30th ranked offensive line in the NFL with a rotating cast of quarterbacks and a coaching staff that can't figure out what they're doing. His grades are relative to the absolute disaster around him. And even with all that dysfunction, he's still the best player on that line. The analysts watching the actual film are saying he's playing well. The Browns' own pass block and run block metrics were better in the game where Teller was rotated. So what exactly is Mary Kay talking about? The truth is, there's something weird going on behind the scenes. When a player says he's healthy and then the coach rules him out with an injury a week in advance, that's weird. When a player gets benched on his milestone 100th start and then responds with his best performance of the year, that's weird. When the same player who's been vocally supporting the young quarterback that the fan base wants to see suddenly gets the cold shoulder from the coaching staff, that's really weird. Lance Reed said it best. The Browns benched him out of nowhere. He responded to the benching with his best play of the year, and he's now ruled out for the next week's game a week in advance. Kevin Stefanski is losing the locker room. And you know what? He's absolutely right. This isn't coming from hot take artists or social media trolls anymore. These are Browns insiders who cover the team every single day, who usually defend the organization, who are now finally saying what everybody else has been seeing for months. Kevin Stefanski has lost control of this team. Look at Wyatt Teller's own words about the young players on this roster. He said, "I just think that we're a young team. It takes a long time to gain that experience and that maturity. I was starting half the games my first and second year, finally had the chance to start my third year, and gained the experience those first 2 years that allowed me to be a week 1 starter." Here's what this all comes down to. Coaching matters. Coaching matters way more than people want to admit. Remember when Cam Ward looked terrible under Brian Callahan? Now Callahan is gone, and everybody's loving Cam Ward's play. The talent didn't change, the coaching changed. The same thing is happening in Cleveland. You have talented young players, you have veterans who want to compete, you have pieces that could work together if the coaching staff would just get out of their own way and create some stability. But instead, you have Kevin Stefanski making bizarre rotation decisions, creating dysfunction between what he says publicly and what players are experiencing privately, and slows losing the respect of a locker room that's already been through too much chaos. When your best offensive lineman on a terrible O-line is questioning whether he's good enough, something is broken. And for all my Shedeur fans out there, this should tell you everything you need to know about why the rookie quarterback has struggled at times. It's not just about him needing to develop or learn the offense. It's about playing behind an offensive line where the best player is getting benched for no good reason. It's about having a coaching staff that can't create consistency or stability. It's about organizational dysfunction from top to bottom. Wyatt Teller wants to stay in Cleveland. He said he's happy he didn't get traded at the deadline and hopes to re-sign and be there for the rest of his career. He's Mr. Cleveland, lifting up young players both literally and figuratively, saying all the right things, being a leader in that locker room. And this is how Kevin Stefanski treats him? Y'all let me know in the comments. Is this how a championship-level coach handles his roster? Is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? Is Wyatt Teller out of line? Or is the coaching staff completely lost? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like a head coach who's walking himself right into getting fired, and honestly, at this point, maybe that's exactly what needs to happen for this team to finally move forward. Something's got to give in Cleveland, and if the Browns want to develop Shedeur Sanders properly, if they want to build around their talented young core, if they want to stop being a dysfunctional mess,
It starts with having a coaching staff that players can trust and believe in. Right now, that's not happening, and Wyatt Teller's bizarre benching is just the latest piece of evidence. The question is, how long is Jimmy Haslam going to watch this dysfunction continue before he makes a change? Because if you're losing one of your best veterans, if you're creating chaos for your rookie quarterback, if you're making decisions that even the most coach-friendly analysts can't defend, what exactly are you doing to put this team in position to succeed? What do you think is really going on with Wyatt Teller and Kevin Stefanski? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you're tired of seeing talented players and young quarterbacks getting mismanaged by coaching staffs that don't know what they're doing, smash that subscribe button because we're going to keep calling out this dysfunction until something changes. Let's talk about it.